How's it going, guys? I'm Brooks.
I'm Joe.
This is another episode of Cantina Reviews.
Today we're talking about the Marvel Darth Vader series. Or not.
So yeah, one of the kind of beginning series that Marvel did as far as Star Wars is concerned.
Yeah, I think they had the Star Wars and the Darth Vader as the first kind of ongoing.
Yeah, as the
comics.
first, kind of like the staples in the Marvel Star Wars comics. All the other ones have kind of just been like little add-ons, little side stories.
Yeah.
But this one in Star Wars has gone on the longest.
Yeah, Star Wars is still going. This ran for 25 issues. It just wrapped up pretty recently.
Yeah, I thought it was a pretty good line.
Yeah.
It was definitely long. There were some parts, there's multiple storylines within it. Some of them way more interesting than others.
Yeah.
But definitely just an interesting set of stories that kind of help build the extended universe that Disney's now trying to create.
I think it started off strong. You had, the Emperor and Vader, their relationship in the wake of the Death Star being destroyed.
Yeah.
Which is, you don't get to see it all.
No.
In the movies.
Yeah, they don't really touch on it at all.
Yeah, so like in this, it's cool because, it's kind of like Vader having to tell his boss that he really screwed up,
Yeah.
And the Emperor is not happy about it at all.
No.
And meanwhile, Vader, now Vader's kind of shamed. He just becomes obsessed with finding who did it.
Mm-hmm.
That's another thing you don't really think about. He's got no idea who did it. And
So then that's why he kind of contacts Boba Fett, and he's like, find me the rebel pilot that destroyed the Death Star.
Yeah.
Which, is one of those storylines within this storyline. Because, the overarching storyline is kind of Vader dealing with this issue of the Emperor not liking him anymore.
Right.
And then kind of redeeming himself and going through the struggle.
Yeah.
But as far as other storylines go, the Boba Fett one was probably one of the first ones that is brought up.
That one really hooked me. It ties in with Star Wars. Like, for a while, they're kind of going on side by side. You see Boba attack Luke in the Star Wars series. But he goes back to Vader with a name, and it's Skywalker. And there's a great scene that really had me hooked on the series when Vader, it kind of clicks, and he's, staring out the window of a starship, and, he's flashing back to him and Padme. He's flashing back to the Emperor saying, your children are dead. And, he kind of, clenches his fist and breaks the glass.
Yeah, breaks the glass on.
And now he knows, his son's alive, and his son destroyed the Death Star.
And that Palpatine lied to him.
Yeah.
Once again.
Yeah, which was really cool.
Yeah. So Vader kind of gets the idea that he can now build his own army or something of the sort.
Yeah, he's kind of fed up with Palpatine at that point. Palpatine is kind of fed up with him at that point. So Vader kind of gets the idea that he's gonna, take over on his own. He's got to kind of do that underground.
Right.
So under the guise of I'm looking for this pilot, which he is, he's also kind of, doing his own inner workings and trying to gain his own foot.
Right.
Yeah.
So he goes out to find an old droid factory on Geonosis so he can start building his own army.
That's something that these comics have been doing well, pulling stuff in from the prequels in a cool way.
Right, but not making it super obvious. You're really,
Where it makes sense. He knows there's a droid factory there because he was in the Clone Wars.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
it's
and he was on Geonosis.
Yeah.
So and then along the way, he finds Dr. Afra.
Yeah, some cool new characters.
BT.
Some droids. You got the Doctor. You have an anti-Chewbacca type Wookiee.
Yeah, Black Preston or something.
That now they have their own comic going on. A lot of cool stuff. Some of the storylines dragged, but I feel like once it would start to drag, they'd hit you with something really cool.
Probably not a major storyline that kind of went through it, but one of the more major ones. So another story point that I liked was Palpatine kind of shows Vader that he has these other people that he's been training secretly that could replace him at one point, which is just really cool to see because it kind of brings out this other side of Vader where he's he doesn't like Palpatine, but at the same time it's showing him that he's kind of getting jealous.
Right.
That Palpatine's I got all these other people that are going to prove themselves, and once they do, you're kind of gone. Throughout the series, up until the end, all of these different apprentices are kind of battling Vader one-on-one different points in the story.
Because for them, this is the prime job opportunity.
Right.
They know Vader is kind of on the downside because of the Death Star fiasco.
So Palpatine's looking for somebody.
Vader's trying to do his own thing. He's also trying to keep his position. He's trying to, fight for his life with all these apprentices coming after him.
Right, and I mean, it's pretty cool how they went into this. believe the same guy that kind of designed Vader designed these people. So it was cool to see all these different traits kind of play into this.
One of the major storylines that like ended up being really cool and it actually crossed over with the Star Wars series was Vader Down, which I think what's cool what Disney's trying to accomplish, and you could definitely tell they brought it into Rogue One, this kind of idea. It's just showing Vader being himself being someone that is feared across the galaxy. So basically Vader crash lands on this planet, and crossing over with Star Wars, you know, Leia and the Rebellion are like, this is our chance to take him out. It's just him. He's by himself. So you get to watch Vader take down a rebel fleet on his own.
Yeah.
And it's pretty
well, yeah, because it's like in the like in the original trilogy, it's like you just expected that Vader, or you're just expected to be like, whoa, Vader's like a bad dude. You know what I mean? So kind of seeing in Vader Down the first real showing of his actual power, right? Taking out a whole like rebel ground force and like Y-wings and X-wings.
He's completely surrounded by like 50 rebels. Yeah. So he just uses the force and clicks all their grenades off.
Yeah.
And blows up a whole force.
Yeah, and then he's taking Y-wings down with the force and everything.
This guy. So we started to see when Rogue One was starting to be like advertised, expect to see like a grittier Vader. And I'm like, oh man, like Vader Down Vader.
Yeah.
So it's like comic fans that were reading along knew where they were coming from with that.
So yeah, Vader Down was definitely another cool point. Just seeing it kind of merge the two main storylines that Marvel has going on come together. A good collab.
Then there was that whole thing with like the war on some planet. It lost me a little there.
Yeah, that was one of those storylines that, I mean, I guess furthered the story as far as events that kind of had to happen with how the ending went. Yeah. But yeah, it was one of the ones that I could have done without. Yeah. Or that I could have like not really been super invested in. Right. But yeah, it definitely brought up how the ending comes into play with the tension between him and Silo, who's kind of his creator, kind of coming to that point where we then go towards the end of the series where it's kind of this big one-on-one kind of standoff between him and Silo. Right. Another cool thing, like just displaying Vader's power, is Silo has this cyborg whale thing that's like his flagship. Yeah. He kind of does Vader does like a mind trick, and Silo's like, that's not going to work on me. And he's like, oh, I wasn't doing it to you, I was doing it to this beast or whatever. Yeah. And then that's how he destroys Silo, is he has this whale flying to like a sun.
Right, yeah. Like the whole series like that especially is just showing like how clever he is. It hit you with some solid one-liners, like the original trilogy, but not overdone. Yeah, no. How violent he could be, how smart he could be, how tactical he could be.
Right, I think that's like one of the main things that you and I both liked of this Vader series is kind of just actually showing Vader for who he is. Yeah. And like really giving a good backstory up until A New Hope, where it's like, oh, we kind of, it's like, New Hope, you're kind of expecting that he's bad, and Empire Strikes Back, everybody's like, oh, wow, it's Vader. It's because all this has happened between those two.
This has all happened now between A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back. So when we start Empire Strikes Back, this is the Vader that took out a whole rebel fleet by himself.
Which is why everybody's like, even more so than A New Hope. Which is, I think that's one of the finer points of this series, is really just showing Vader kind of just use his mind and his force capabilities to pretty much the max, and just like how clever he is.
And they wrap up any kind of loose ends, really. Dr. Aphra, who was his, kind of sidekick in this series, who was going around kind of doing his bidding, and who let him down quite a few times. He was basically like, okay, yeah, I'm going to kill you if I see you again.
Right, it was kind of like really surprised me, even though I shouldn't have been surprised maybe. Yeah. It really surprised me like how he killed her and that he did.
So and like basically she thinks she's going to try to be able to, get on the Emperor's good side and be protected by Vader by ratting him out. So she rats him out to the Emperor, everything he's been doing this whole comic series, and the Emperor's like, oh wow, you're so evil. Yeah. Oh, how could I ever doubt you? I mean, you're just a bastard. This is great. You use the dark side so well.
Yeah, and you tried to overthrow me. That's great. Yeah. But and then he puts her in an airlock and just shoots her out into space. And it's one of those things that I was surprised about, that I really shouldn't have been surprised about based on how the rest of the series had gone. But like when he did that, I was like, wow, he just did not care.
Right, but I mean, because like she ratted him out and everything, and it had no adverse effect on him. If anything, it fixed all of his problems.
Exactly. That's why I thought it was so weird.
Right, and then he's just like, oh, whatever.
So yeah, gets rid of her, and then in a typical Star Wars fashion, somehow there is a twist of fate or a planned. It was planned.
Yeah.
Where BT and 000 and Black Creston are kind of waiting for her. And she was like, yeah, that's kind of what I planned, because now he won't look for me because he thinks I'm dead.
Yeah.
Which I think would lead us into the next series of Dr. Aphra.
Right, yeah, which we haven't started yet.
No. All right, so that's been the Marvel Star Wars Darth Vader series. All in all, I mean, as far as the artwork goes, I thought the artwork was pretty good. Covers were pretty cool.
That was another thing, yeah, a lot of great art, a lot of great covers. As always, you can find more reviews, movies, books, products on our channel. You can check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
On our Chanel. So once again, I'm Brooks.
I'm Joe.
This has been another episode of Cantina Reviews.